Still presentation? Okay. Thank you. Call to order the Town of North Branford Town Hall. Special meeting for Water Pollution Control Authority and regular Town Council meeting, North Branford, Connecticut, Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. We will start with a salute to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to run a little different today. We're on a kind of a tight schedule. We have a public hearing that was supposed to start at 7. So we're going to do a quick roll call, if you would, and then we're going to go right to that public hearing.
Mayor McMillan?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Zampano?
Here.
Counselor Angeloni?
Here.
Counselor Gold?
Here.
Counselor Diamond?
Here.
Counselor Felicia?
Here.
Counselor Mace?
Here.
Counselor Palladino?
Here.
Counselor Eggleston?
Here.
Okay. All right, we're going to skip ahead before we go to the previous minutes, and we're going to into the public hearing. So we're a 7 p.m. public hearing for sewer works budget and proposed sewer use fees for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Michael, do I have any special language for that? That I need in my packet? I didn't see.
I don't think so.
Well, there's the hearing notice that has to be read.
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
Rose, would you mind reading that, please?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
I lost
so
that.
there was a public notice in the Totucket Times. It read, from the Office of the Tax Collector, the legal notice of the public hearing sewer use charge. The North Branford WPCA pursuant to Section 7-255 of the Connecticut General Statutes will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town Council Chambers, 909 Foxen Road, North Branford, for the purpose of establishing a proposed sewer use fee for 2022-23 fiscal year. The proposed charge is $500 per unit, and a copy of the proposed charge is on file in the town clerk's office and is available for inspection by the public, dated in North Branford, Connecticut, this 26th day of August 2022, WPCA Authority, Town of North Branford.
Thank you, Rose. All right, I will, Victor, thank you.
Good evening, Victor Benny. I'm the town engineer. I'm just going to kind of give you folks a review of the sewer works operating budget and sewer use fee and the capital budget. I'm going to try to limit my in-depthness and try to avoid the tenths and hundredths of decimal points for you. But starting with the operating budget, we're basically looking at a beginning unassigned fund balance of $559,765. Our estimated revenue for this upcoming budget season would be around $1.5 million. Our total expenditures are around $1.6 million, or around the same, holding steady around the same. That leaves us with an ending unassigned fund balance of $541,462. This number here that we have is one that Anthony and I kind of focus on. We like to keep this up between that $550,000 to $600,000 range, and that's kind of our buffer for any catastrophic problems that we might have with the three systems that we have, sewer systems that we have throughout town. Our estimated units has gone down a little bit this year. I'm to 2,668. So that's the residential units and the commercial units combined. That's gone down. I did get a better accounting of the actual residential billing units that we have from the tax department this year. So that's why that fluctuated a little bit. It's just a more accurate number that we can plug into there. That gave us a estimated charge per unit that we're recommending at $500 per unit. So that's each residential unit would get a $500 bill for a sewer use fee this year. That's up $25 from last year, which was at $475. We kind of held it at $475 for a couple years and $450 before that, so we're kind of seeing an upward trend and with the cost of materials in the market. And one of the other main reasons that this number has gone up is to cover the cost of treating the sewage to the intermunicipal, the three entities that we send our sewage to, and especially, I'd say that if we're doing a comparison, it was Branford and North Haven where we had a little bit of a rise in their rate structure as far as how much they're charging us to treat the sewage. So I can flip forward a page to that intermunicipal number on the following page. On item 318 under contractual services, you'll see the intermunicipal number that we have is around 1.1 million. That's up about, again, that's up about $250,000 from last year, and that's that rate structure increase that we're facing. So if we flip by, I'm gonna just flip it forward 1, 2, 3 pages to the budget form number 4. I at least wanted to point out under the utilities, line item number 302, our utilities has held pretty consistent this year, up about $1,500 from, or $1,800 from last year. So it is a good chunk of a number there, almost $40,000 in utilities that we spread out amongst the pump stations, being either the Regional Water Authority, Wallingford Electric, or United Illuminating. You can flip to the next budget form number 4. And again, that item, line item 318 is our intermunicipal numbers that we're working with between Branford, North Haven, and the Greater New Haven WPCA. So I'd just point out that if we want to dive into some numbers here, the rate structure for Branford went up from last year around $3.42 per gallon. They were $3.42 per gallon. This year we're up 15 cents per gallon to $3.57 per gallon. The North Haven rate is probably the one that went up the most, or it is the one that went up the most, from $3.09 a gallon last year to $3.91 a gallon this year. So that's really where we're catching those additional expenditures that are affecting that rate to go up from the user rate to go up from $4.75 to $500. Are moving down to line 320, our other contractual. The maintenance contract services is Veolia, taking care of all the outside operations basically and responding to any problems. I also included some projects there that we're interested in doing some manhole repairs, repairing a section of line that we have that needs a repair, a pump station upgrade and modifications that kind of rolls into the program of doing at least a little bit to a few of the pump stations every year. And that's another good improvement that we can do. I'd like to work on improvements as we go year to year instead of worrying about problems to happen and then facing the consequences. And that's pretty much it for the operating budget and the sewer use fee. Again, just pointing out that we're trying to keep that ending unassigned balance, fund balance, around $540,000 as our catastrophic problem/buffer number. On to the capital budget. This one's a lot quicker to go through. We have a beginning balance of $280,000. Our ending balance is holding pretty steady at $275,000. We're looking at projecting about $10,000 in assessments. Those are the connections made to the system. I think we're already approaching that number for this year, and there's a couple out there that we're waiting to connect that have already been approved by you folks. The operating transfer number in at $194,000, basically at the bottom of the page goes back out. That's moving one of the intermunicipal principal and interest fees into this fund and then back out to the sewer works operating fund. If there's any questions, I can give it a shot. And I know this is my second budget, Michael Downs' first budget, so we have our seasoned veteran in the back, Anthony, who's gonna, I'm sure, let me get tortured with any questions before he helps out.
The number of units went down? What, did we lose houses?
No, I want to say that the only guess I can make is that it was a number that was being input. And as far as a guesstimate on how many houses we had, that's the only thing I can.
Possibly new construction that may have hooked up and did not, or something like that. Sometimes projects preemptively thought that they would have X amount of units and it doesn't happen or it gets delayed.
I looked back a few years too, and it was held at the same 2,750 units for a few years in a row, and that's why I kind of wondered. I said, well, I add residential hookups every year, so it should be going up a few points here, 10, 15, 20 hookups a year is what we're averaging. So it should have changed year to year, and that's when I went to the tax department and asked and quizzed them for exactly how many residential units they're billing out per year. So I'm more comfortable saying that. I don't think it went down. I just think
So you just
that-
adjusted the number to correct?
I don't think it went down. I think our budget is just more accurately displayed by using the correct numbers.
You came up with the real number.
The real number, yes, thank you.
Right, yeah.
Come on, an engineer can't make it that simple. The answer that simple.
You're not an accountant.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, this is pretty typical year over year, right? As far as the ending balance, other than 2019, 2020, there must have been some expenditure there or something.
As far as the ending unassigned
Yeah.
fund balance?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were a little higher there, and I know Anthony has said year to year he's trying to hold this around the $600,000 range, and unfortunately this year with it was that intermunicipal number, and we can play around trying to raise that number a little bit. There's actually almost a $15,000 other contractual expense that I have there that we should be getting back from the state as far as raising manholes. So, there's a $15,000 addition there I'm hoping to throw back into this, but
Okay. All right. Everyone's suffice?
Right here, if there's any public.
Of course, yes. That, after picture is completed, you're all set?
yes. thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much, sir. So we'll open up now for public comment. Anything, do we have anyone on, are we online tonight, Mike?
We should be.
Okay, check if there's anything via Facebook, please.
Nothing on Facebook yet.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay. So going once, going twice, going 3 times. Seeing that there is no public comment, we will close the hearing at 7:20 PM. All right, thank you. All right, moving on in our agenda tonight, we're going to accept a motion to accept the meeting's previous minutes of September 6, 2022 for WPCA and Town Council special meeting.
So moved. Second?
I have a question.
Give me one moment. We'll go into, just give me one motion by Counselor Angeloni, second by Counselor Diamond. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
On section 13B, page 7, there's a motion by Council Angeloni to appoint Thomas Bailey as the clerk. There's no second named, and I think it's important that
Should be.
the second should be named.
Absolutely, there should be a second there. My memory serves me correct, that was seconded by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Do you remember her?
I don't recall.
Okay.
No, I think it was Marie.
I thought it was Marie.
Could be
actually.
Marie?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the two of them.
That's
With
Tom.
you, Marie?
Mr. Mayor, it was Deputy Mayor Zimmerman.
Who was? Okay. All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Ethan.
All right, so will you make notes in the minutes to, thank you,
So I'll accept the motion,
with the
amendment that
amendment.
Deputy Mayor Zampano seconded the motion for Bailey.
All right, thank you, Counselor Mace, appreciate that. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? All right, thank you. Good reminder for me to turn off my ringer.
I think Walt has to abstain because he wasn't here.
Actually, Walt, you weren't here yet, so you would have to abstain from that. It's an abstention. Okay, Walter abstains from that. Thank you, Walter, and thank you, Rose. Correct. Okay. Moving on to item 7, town manager report.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry, no. I skipped over the Water Pollution Control Authority, thinking we did that. My apologies. Item 3, correspondence and citizen statements. Any citizen statements for the Water Pollution Authority? Seeing none. Going on to unfinished business. None. New business. Item A, FY 22-23, Sewer Works Operational Fund Budget, Capital Budget, and User Fee. Item on 1A, adoption of operating budget and user fee.
I'd like to make a motion, be it resolved that the North Branford WPCA, acting in its capacity as the sewer authority for the town of North Branford, hereby adopts the attached sewer budget and establishes a sewer fee of $500 per unit for the 2022-23 fiscal year.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Angelini, second by Counselor Diamond. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. All right, item 2, adoption of capital budget.
I'd like to make a motion, be it resolved that the North Branford WPCA, acting in its capacity as the sewer authority for the town of North Branford, hereby adopts the attached sewer capital budget for the 2022-23 fiscal year.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Angelini, second by Counselor Diamond. Any discussion? Seeing none, go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. All right, item 6, citizen statements and petitions. Are there any
Could
people?
I just ask a question?
Yes,
Victor,
ma'am.
how are we doing on hearing from our company working on a proposed sewer line?
Oh, good question.
So I have actually a meeting, a virtual meeting with them tomorrow to kind of update their progress on it, and I'm just kind of judge from that meeting if it's enough info to bring back to you folks to give you an update on where they stand.
When do you think that would be, that you come back to us?
Maybe next meeting. I want to see how much you really have that we can bite into to bring to you instead of, or we can do it if you want to do it at the next.
Well, I mean, I don't want
Yeah.
to, we hopefully would have it soon, just.
Yeah, let me see how much, info, how much substance they have, how much progress they've made, and make sure I have enough to bring you so it's exciting.
It will be.
All right. All right, we're going to close the Water Pollution Control Authority agenda and move on to our regular town council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to add item 10A, an appointment of Mary Bigelow to the Greater New Haven Transit Board of Directors.
Second.
Okay, motion by Counselor Angeloni, second by Counselor Diamond. Any discussion?
What is that?
It
I'm
is,
just amending the agenda and then we'll.
No.
Yeah.
What is,
well, when we get to the item, we'll go through it. That's
Okay.
just proper procedure, but we will go through it. I didn't know what it was either, so I learned recently. To do with buses, which we don't have a lot of, but, okay. But we'll go through that. That's something exciting to wait for number 10. All right, so but without further ado, we'll go to town manager report. Before we go into our town manager report,
you didn't
oh,
add-
sorry, we didn't do that. I'm having all sorts of fun tonight. All right, we're gonna add, we have a motion by Counselor Angeloni, second by Counselor Diamond. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right, thank you. And then now on to item 7, town manager report. And as I was saying, tonight is the first night of our new town manager, Mr. Michael Downs. So we appreciate him taking this post and look forward to working with him for the future here. And good luck in your initial report.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the Town Council. Before I start my report, I just want to say that I'm pleased to be before you tonight in the first time as in my capacity as North Branford's new town manager. I want to thank the council for the opportunity to serve you and the residents of North Branford, and I'm looking forward to our joint accomplishments going forward. I also want to thank all the town staff for the terrific welcome that they've given me and that I've received from all of them, and I look forward to working with all of them to deliver the best service we can for the residents of the town of North Branford. I especially want to single out our town clerk, Lisa Valenti, who's been absolutely outstanding in helping me on board in her recent capacity as acting town manager. And she continues to be an indispensable resource as I continue to orient myself here. And she has the night off. It's one of the few ones. So,
Yeah.
And she just didn't want to be around to be thanked again. So, but I really appreciate everything she's done. She's been phenomenal. I'm now in the 6th day at this post, and I wanted to relay to the council that I've conducted my first staff meeting to set the tone of collaboration I'm seeking and to highlight the value that I place on all of their subject matter expertise. And I'm in the process of beginning to schedule both my one-on-one meetings with all the staff, as well as scheduling time to go out to the staff and meet each individual town department at the location they operate out of. I've also laid out my plans to overhaul the town's digital representation of itself to its residents and its taxpayers and businesses, beginning with enhanced digital communications and a revamped town website, and to showcase the great things happening in town and the work our staff does for its residents. Also, I was pleased to attend the meeting of the Economic Development Commission last evening, where I discussed my intention to work with our Economic Development Director and them on producing an economic development plan for submission to the Town Council. These items will be central to my first 100 days, where I will listen, plan, do, and measure. With that, I'll start my official report, the COVID-19 update. As of this afternoon, the State Department of Health is reporting 12 documented new cases of COVID in the last 7 days, with a positivity rate of 8.2% for the prior 2 weeks. This is a slight elevation compared to 2 weeks ago at your last meeting when it was 5.8%. According to the CDC's Community Alert Framework, New Haven County is currently at the yellow or medium category. The State Department of Public Health is reporting that in New Haven County there are 115 patients currently hospitalized with laboratory-confirmed COVID-19, and an increase of 15 over the previous week. Any questions on the COVID report?
No.
Great. I'll go right into the Permanent Project Building Committee. Last night, I also attended the last evening's Permanent Project Building Committee. It went until 9:30, and I'm told that was mercifully brief from those who were there. So
That's
2.5 hours. Yeah, no
That's
problem.
accurate.
Yes.
That was a light one.
Yeah. It was held at the intermediate.
Too much.
No, not at all. And we have members here, Al Rose, Dave Palumbo, Victor Pietandria, to back up anything that you might have questions on. But I'll start with NBHS. As you know, we've been contending with issues related to the water infiltration in certain areas of the project from rainstorms earlier this month. Today, our building inspector inspected the roof and found no leaks. Additional areas of wet sheetrock have been removed. Permission has been granted to re-insulate areas affected by water, except for the first floor room, 1218. There's a windowsill leak there. And it's been deemed okay to sheetrock and close up the walls after insulation inspection is approved. The ceiling portion will remain open until the third party confirms remaining duct insulation is dry. Anything that any of you might want to add to that?
Really, we don't need to be here since Mike's doing such a great job with giving us that update. And I appreciate it and thank Mike immensely for what you've done, especially, and I'm sure he'll recap on the PD level where we're at with that. We spent a tremendous amount of time, but on the high school, he hit it all. Yeah, there was one leak as of last night through the storm on one window on the first floor that Steve will be back out on Thursday. Enviromed has been in there. We hired that third-party consultant. They are coming back out upon our request to monitor the school. We'll touch more on that next week. We did have an update on John Florio, which I appreciate the work he did last night. After we did our inventory review about a month or two ago, Rose, you brought up 2 weeks ago, the budgeted number that QA&M had was about $164,000. The bid came in at about $286,000, as we all know. John went over last night, and he could certainly weigh in. We have eliminated about $18,000 right now of equipment, odds and ends that we don't need. And as of right now, in the second phase, we do have a handful of equipment that John has asked me, and I will ask Franny when he's back, to weigh in on some additional shop equipment that we don't need or will evaluate or need to purchase on the second phase. So with that, also, we had talked last go-around that John had mentioned, if we went out and bought the equipment ourselves, if we bought the equipment ourselves right now, it's about a $27,000, about $27,300 in equipment that we presently need, correct, John? That's if we buy it ourselves. Go through the state bid, John does what he does, and he's already found it. If we go to the state bid, it's $63,000 right now. So, we're weighing in on whether we end up buying it ourselves, because if we buy it ourselves, we don't get the 41% funding back from the state. But right now, there's about a $36,000 difference. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, our numbers today? About a $36,000 difference if we buy it versus if we go on a state bid. So
A hard number.
right now, for what we're looking at, for what we need. And, John made mention that, he's spoken to the superintendent, correct, on a few things, microwaves, odds and ends. They will buy as they need. Printers, certain things that we had all found, as I said last time, there's a tremendous amount of that in the school. Printers, copiers, that kind of stuff. So, we'll weigh in probably next week better, John?
Yeah, no problem.
And I'll get with John, as he asked myself, and when Franny's back, to inventory and check the evaluation of the rest of the equipment that is in the building now. So much of this is coming over to the new school. So, and as Michael said, they gave the green light to insulate as of today, sheet rock. So we're moving along. There's been quite a few hiccups. Myself, Victor, Lou, Al, John, members of all of us. Certainly Michael, we were there with the mayor last week, Friday, after a town hall meeting with FEMA. So we've spent an immense amount of time in the last week there. I think I've been there 4 times with various individuals. As we said a couple weeks ago, it's a shame what happened. Jeff D'Onofrio is well aware. He attended our meeting, as you knew, last Monday. So we're moving forward. We gotta continue the process. They, right now, I think, as of today, Mike, there wouldn't be any delays now, providing that they had the green light to move forward, which is where Gilbane wants to be. Steve, the building inspector's been phenomenal. I've spent 2 or 3 meetings with him there as well. So unless you guys have anything to add or delete.
Yeah, we should give a report on the color, the white trim.
Oh, so
out
that's a
there.
big
Don't forget
contentiousness.
to Tell them
Oh,
about
yes.
the gray on gray.
Yeah,
on gray.
so the building originally, before we were involved, the roof was gray, the trim was gray, the facades were gray, the overhangs. When we moved the building into a green roof, the patina green, somehow, and I'm assuming Rusty, really, I hate to say it,
The
dropped
architect, he said
cute.
it falls under his realm in
Yeah.
our contract with him.
So the roof is patina green, the fascia is white, the downspouts are white. It's not matching the rest of the building.
Correct.
The auditorium, and the facade over there, it's not, yeah,
It is ugly.
to say the least,
You can't
it's,
change it.
we, yeah.
locked together.
He claimed he looked at the entryway, he had a pretty lame excuse.
Yeah,
He
last
looked at
night.
the entryway of the auditorium, and that is white.
Hmm.
But the big gables on the auditorium and all the
They're all
trim,
green.
downspouts are all the patina green that we wanted to match. I personally have never seen a standing seam. They all come as a kit. We had to order white.
Right.
Special.
So if they went
To get
gray,
white.
gray, our question is, why didn't you do patina green, and patina green? Rusty's like, well, it falls under his provisions that, and his authority to make those decisions. Unfortunately, we were not, I don't think any one of us were involved at that point, which if we were, it'd be patina green. We went as far as last night discussing, can we change it? You can't paint it, it's powder coated. It's
It's a done deal?
a done deal.
It's up.
It's a done deal.
It's up right now. We saw this on
So,
Friday.
there was talk last night and over the last couple of weeks, Franny was on the site with me 2 weeks ago. John's very well aware of it. Maybe do we paint the new entrance overhang, the metal structure? That's supposed to be white. Do we paint it green? So there's some dialogue that we are talking about that as of last night, maybe to bring the two buildings more together.
So is, I guess in the contract, it says that he can make an error like that and we have to
That's
live
not
with
an
it?
error.
It's- yeah.
They're hanging their hat that this is
Yeah.
architecturally correct and we don't know what looks good.
Right. He has the realm in his contract to do this.
So I have the authority to, when I asked Rusty, he ordered patina green. Al had to actually pick between three of the colors, because he was more familiar with the roofing colors. They specially ordered green. So they said everything's gonna be green. So we're all in assumption it's gonna either be all red or all green. And now it's unilock, so it's kinda locked together.
We can't
You
change.
can't
You
change
can't
it.
change it, and you can't paint it because it's powder coated, and
Mm.
it's chemically treated.
So-
So you're stuck with it, and it kinda, it looks like somebody gave it a whitening at a dentist.
There was also talk of maybe painting that overhang black to match the windows
Yeah.
frames, which might be an alternative to
To lessen the white.
lessen the white. I don't think we should paint it white, personally. I think it's gonna,
Can we correct it when we build the new auditorium?
yeah, we could do it white then, Deputy Mayor.
Can the auditorium, being that it's an older powder coating and some of the treatment may have, can that be painted at some point?
It might be cheaper to change the auditorium. 'cause it's
Yeah.
not
Change the
unilock.
actual
Yeah, I
Change
mean,
that.
the facades, the different.
I mean,
Yeah.
the auditorium looks good. I mean,
It does look good.
It really does. The roof, even the color of the new high school roof patina green, really
Looks
blends
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
And as it fades, it'll blend even better. I mean, I don't know if we want to go
Yeah.
down that road right now. But that's kind of a hiccup for us. We're all upset about it. And wanted you guys to know.
The only, well, Victor
Started
had one
backwards,
point, but
BN.
I just wanted to make a point to everybody in town that the building committee, way back in the beginning, when we were all going over the site, we raised that school 1 foot.
Yes.
And in that big rain,
Right.
thank God that school was 1 foot above.
Yes.
Because the water was
Yeah.
within 4 inches of the new floor, when it was there, so.
We would have been in a fishbowl.
So we make a lot of mistakes, but we accidentally get things right.
No, that was good.
So.
I recall that.
What did you have?
The air conditioner, there's some.
Oh,
So
the
you want to
unit.
weigh in on that? The switchgear did come in, the switchgear's coming in Friday. You want to weigh in on the AC units?
Yeah, the switchgear's coming in Friday, so they could start working on power. The main issue that they have is, on November 22nd, they have the largest rooftop unit coming in. I stressed it last night quite a bit. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to commission that and set it and kind of forget it and get it online. The issue there is they're pushing it way too hard. They're just flat out gonna try to make a schedule that we didn't make the schedule. We gave them extra time, we told them we can, the Board of Ed's gonna give them extra time, but if they push that schedule, right now they're at 85% humidity in the building. So they got no way to take out the humidity, nothing. Millwork's gonna be coming soon, and that rooftop gets here on the 22nd. That means they gotta crane it, put it, install it, wire it, put it to the energy management system, tie it into the IT, get it all computerized, and then balance the whole building.
And that is our main issue with NBIS.
But here's the
on
thing.
that system. So if this gets rushed through, I'm very skeptical.
So me
of
and
it.
Lou do this all the time. That's what we do all the time, day in and day out. It can't be done. I said it to Amar last night. I think they're pushing the envelope. I stressed it last night. It's on record. You make one mistake, you make two mistakes. You got water coming in the building, you need a canoe for 6 different occasions. You got a lot of mistakes. They're saying they only took out 22 sheets of sheetrock at the beginning. Now they're beyond 45 sheets. Now they're beyond that, and they're taking insulation, they're taking ductwork out. That's, I think they should just pump the brakes. That was just my opinion to them. The other issue I have is, and we're going through the records, when he presented the findings that I was putting on the discs that night, he said that he took it upon himself with Gilbane to expedite the roof over a 90-day period, knowing it wasn't sealed for all the MEPs. We are going back to the tape to get that. So the main issue is, how do you go back and ask for insurance money when you created the problem of what we're doing now? So the rooftops being delayed, the time frame, and pushing this, is just, from our standpoint, we're trying everything possible. And I want to make it clear, in just my opinion, that the new town manager and the new purchasing agent have nothing to do. I want the whole public to understand that whatever fell from that day forth backwards, it's a new, a new time for us. We definitely need to pump those brakes. It's just my opinion. I do it every day. And if they're going to try to get that unit running before Christmas in 4 weeks, it'll never happen.
So they're trying to do it in 4 weeks instead
Yeah.
of 6 to 8 weeks?
6 to 8 weeks just to commission the IT. You got to remember, you got to get.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Never
I'm
gonna
just
balance
saying,
it.
so they want to do it in 4 weeks?
Yeah.
And that's balancing the whole 9 yards?
That's picking up the unit from the ground,
Yeah.
setting it on a roof, tying it down, flashing it, tying the ducts to it, wiring it, turning it on, tying it to the IT, then tying it to the energy management, then balance the entire building to create that negative pressure energy,
Mhm.
and balance it all out so there's no drafts
The
anywhere.
balancing alone is 2 to 3 weeks?
It takes 3 to 4 weeks minimum. It usually takes 6 to 8 weeks for just
Just to condition it.
to condition it, and then we usually ask for 5 weeks prior to that. It's an 11-week process. They're gonna try to cram it in. They're
What's-
doing everything to beat this.
What do they have on their, what is their schedule? Is
They wanna
this
try
what's
to-
on their schedule, 4 weeks?
They're gonna try to get it done. They're gonna try to
That's-
get,
What's on their schedule? How is the, they're gonna try and get it done in 4 weeks. What's the schedule for it?
4 weeks. They wanna get it up and running.
So their schedule is always 4 weeks?
No, their schedule was originally to set the units by September 18th.
They're trying to hit moving in Christmas break. And we made it clear to them last night that that was their time frame, not ours. John made it clear that the Board of Ed, the superintendent, the principals have all told them they want the building right.
Yeah.
They can do February vacation, they can do April, they can move over 3 weekends, so we made it clear to them as a town, we're not telling them to move in to change the kids. They want to get the kids out of that building and knock it down and get to the next phase. I mean.
Well, obviously, they
they're
wanna
a
move forward.
machine rolling forward.
Yeah.
So what do we do
We made
to
it
get?
clear.
So how do we
right?
slow them down?
Yeah.
We're trying everything possible. We hit them with everything but the kitchen sink. It doesn't seem to faze them.
Well, the
I'm
building
gonna be
inspector
straight
can
out
slow
and
'em down.
candid with everybody and just, here's my, here it is from a nutshell. We cannot slow them down. We tried everything.
Victor, is there a way to prove that it's conditioned or not? Is there some type of way to, a meter or something that?
They just ran a report right now. It's 85% humidity in the building. If they
Correct.
Put a piece of millwork in there right now.
It'll
swell up.
completely swell up, yeah.
So to piggyback on what the mayor's asking, what about our building official? Is there anything,
It's rough, well.
is there anything within?
He's given numerous letters. He's told them to button the building. Every single building, permanent building committee member told them to stop, get the building watertight. I'm just preparing everybody for the truth, We're only could fight so much. The three of us here, without speaking for the rest of them, I bet you we got 15 to 20 hours a week into this.
And Victor, quick question on with Gilbane. I know 2 weeks ago at the meeting when they were there, they talked about their builder's insurance covering these costs for the leak. So as of right now, they still don't know if that's gonna be the case, that the insurance is gonna
Builder's risk
cover it?
insurance is on the town,
Okay,
so we would have to cover it, but builder's risk insurance is for faulty stuff.
good.
If you're told to button a roof and not continue putting MEPs, the state of Connecticut requires a watertight building before you put any mechanical, electrical, plumbing in the building.
Okay.
They continue to do that without that being watertight. So how do you go to an insurance company and say, I need this, when you didn't even follow the code from the beginning?
Yes.
Who at the state level can talk to them?
Let's,
Because if it's-
let's take 1 second. Why don't we ask our town attorney and see what type of, what would you suggest in this type of environment, if you don't mind?
I think what, obviously, first is looking at your contract, talking about phases, whether there's acceptance of phases by the town or by the architect, before you move on to the next stage. Secondly, you do have a building official. If you're looking to move kitchens or something, you don't have your C of O or a partial C of O. That's a pretty big stick they usually have if it's unsafe to put people in there.
Correct.
You got your health department or health district, if that rises to that level, the nature of the conditioned spaces. So I think you have a few sticks you can use, a few actions you can take, as well as, but I begin by looking at the contract as to.
Jeff D'Onofrio is on top of it, just so, I didn't want to interrupt
Good.
him. He is totally aware of everything and he's working with it, but you gotta proceed, you can't stop them, you gotta continue. We signed an ATP last night that I just found out today that Rusty didn't even vet out, so now we gotta work on that ATP to have Rusty vetted out. It just,
Do they have
my
a time frame
opinion
on
is-
windows? I mean, it's hard to have a waterproof building without windows.
By the end of this month.
They had the rest of the glass,
It's in?
a bunch of it came in broken.
Right.
Oh, did
But
it?
The new glass they were getting was, I think by the end of this week.
They had one.
The window that leaked was because they had plastic on it and the plastic was.
Faulty.
Blew in on the
Yeah.
bottom.
One
Yeah.
vendor that they had out of PA closed up shop, closed the warehouse down. They ended up having to regroup, go to another vendor. So they are having glass coming regularly. There was a load delivered Friday. They're telling us they'll have all the panes in by the end of the month, 2 weeks, so a week and a half. So,
But
Yeah, I
I think
mean-
on the stuff that Victor's talking about, we put them on notice last night that, the deadline is nothing to do with the town. And I think you're absolutely right. The building official and the health department will be, and the building official especially, we can make sure that everything is up, and all we'll do is we've been, in the beginning, as a group, in the building, we were all looking at ways to help them hit the deadline 6 months ago.
Well, they already moved the deadline.
Okay?
The deadline was
Now,
originally
we're all looking at, okay,
September.
we need to do everything right. So I think, we put them on notice, and, as a builder, they don't wanna put it out there to their subcontractors that say, okay, we don't have to be done by Christmas break.
Yeah.
So I think Amar maybe, I don't wanna put words in his mouth, but I think as a contractor, he's like, I don't wanna.
So you should tell the contractor they can go to another job. They're gonna go to another job and come back.
or they're just
later.
gonna slow
I'll
down.
put it
Yeah.
out there, it's from there's repeated times where we told them not to put certain pipes in the ground, it's not the code. They gotta change them again. We asked for steel pipes, it calls for steel pipes, they put PVC. We asked for certain structures to be done the correct way, they gotta change them because we catch them.
Mhm.
It's just an ongoing, it's like repetitious. It's redundant, we tell them the same thing on, and they just keep trying it and trying it and trying to catch them. So, can they hit their deadline? I'm not sure. I just want to be straight up. And, it's a hard deadline with a November 22nd.
We're all on it every Monday.
Oh, I know. I just want them to hear
And
it.
then all through the week too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't stop on Mondays. And we do have our third-party consultant, as you guys know, that we hired. As of, I was with him that day for most of the day, or most of the, half of the day. The following report on Wednesday of last week, that there was no mold, no spores,
Good.
nothing at this time. And we will talk more about potentially having them come on maybe every couple of weeks to monitor the building while we get out of this season and into cooler weather. And once they are talking about bringing dehumidifiers in for the third floor.
So, yeah, it's an ongoing process for all of us, daily, hourly, weekly, so.
Well, we thank you for that effort. To switch gears a little bit, not on the tangible building, but on the paperwork, how are we looking on the paperwork and getting all of our ducks in line to get, money back from the state?
We just got a big chunk last
We got
week.
7 million, Mike?
7.5 million.
Great.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Paperwork from
It's going well?
Rusty and CSG and in-house here, they're right on it.
That's good.
That was a question we asked last night and weekly, that paperwork's critical. That's our main focus with CSG.
Yes.
Al and I, a few of us have talked, we'd love to have more eyes on the ground over there, and CSG, I guess nicely saying, we didn't probably get what we exactly wanted for boots on the ground, but they're getting our paperwork on time in with Anthony, which I think, you have no complaints with CSG as well.
No.
So that, to us, that's important,
Good.
So with them still on site, us always there, Steve now, the building inspector's there regularly, works, so.
Good.
In the last 30 days, the new purchasing agent working with Anthony
Yeah,
and
that's-
CSG, that has been night and day.
Totally
Good.
different.
Mike Fumati has
From our
been.
point of view.
Does Al finally have a schedule of fees? That he asked for?
And I will reiterate, the town manager, Michelle, Michael's been phenomenal, and Lisa Valente was a great asset to us for the 4, 5, 6 weeks, and Michael will get the rest of the punishment, I'm sure, as we move forward. But he's been great so far.
I have one more
We
question.
appreciate the effort. Yeah, good.
You mentioned the ductwork, the wrapping on the ductwork. Are they
Yes.
letting it dry?
No, they
Or
took
are they gonna
off.
rewrap it?
They took off numerous sections of the ductwork. Enviromed does not have a scope of way of shooting through the foil. So what we're recommending now, we're gonna cut back.
We're gonna cut it.
5 feet farther back, test both sides, pull the insulation down, let them shoot it, and see where we stand, and then they'll rewrap it. They are gonna open up one ductwork to see if there's any standing water in it, so we don't have any concerns there. And then if they don't have any, they'll wrap it and move forward.
If the permanent project building committee members didn't go in there and photograph and video all that, all of us participated in that, that would have never got caught and would have got figured.
It's very
Appreciate
important.
everything that you guys do. I really do.
That's what
Absolutely.
you gotta do, you gotta give back. That's what we're all here for.
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that update. Michael?
Sure. And before I move on to the police department EOC project, I don't have any further updates on the intermediate school and the Stanley T. Williams roof. I don't know if any of you have anything to add on those.
No,
Okay,
nothing
very
right
good.
now.
Okay.
So did STW go out to bid yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We met with Hibbert and Rosa last Monday, finalizing a few things. They'll be back to us, I think, in the next week or two.
Okay.
He's been out to the school too for some inspection.
Right, he did have to go back, John, for a few other items.
Great, thank you. So for the police department and EOC project, as you know, we've been contending with the issue related to the environmental historic preservation requirements from FEMA at the planned site of the new police EOC facility. So the council and the police commission and PPBC received a couple pieces of communication from me on this, and to recap where we are, it was determined by FEMA that the planned site may have archaeological sensitivity, and it's recommending a Phase 1 archaeological survey. So we had a couple meetings this week with Doug Lowacki of Demas, through whom our grant is being administered, Mayor McMillan, Chief of Police Kevin Halloran, Deputy Chief James Lovelace, Representative Vin Candelora, Jennifer Lamb of Rep. Rosa DeLaura's office, Dave Palumbo of the Police Commission and PPBC, and officials at the State Historic Preservation Office, as well as Lisa Valenti, were all present for these meetings. Our first was with FEMA the end of last week, and then our most recent one was with SHPO on Monday. The takeaways are essentially this: a Phase 1 archaeological review including reconnaissance and identification, should actually take only 2 weeks to be completed by a selected contractor. SHPO's indicated that they will ride herd on FEMA with this, so if there's no discovery of archaeological significance, the delay on this project should only be between 30 and 60 days. Whether or not this delay with EHP procedure had occurred, the federal government would still require a stormwater discharge permit from FEMA, and part of that would be going through this process to assure compliance with the EHP anyway. So, in other words, the contractor would have eventually hit the same delay at the point of trying to obtain this needed stormwater permit and been sent back to the beginning to do an EHP, which would have required an archaeological review. So we've requested and been provided a letter from SHPO explaining that delay. That was a copy of that that's been shared with the contractor, and a copy of that I put with each of your folders this evening. The cost of the archaeological survey is to be borne by the town, and at this point I can't say how much that might be. The range of $10,000 to $40,000 has been advanced to me, so that's kind of what we're expecting. I've directed the assembling of prospective costs from available approved vendors to do the Phase 1 archaeological review to see what the cost would be to perform this work and how quickly they can do it. The full 13-plus acres does not need to be reviewed. It's just the areas where construction and grade work will be conducted. Town Attorney Brian Clare has confirmed for me that we would not need to go out to bid to do this work for the Phase 1, which of course would create further delays if we had to do that. It comes under professional services that are unique in nature. So these vendors have been asked to respond to us by Tuesday morning, and we've already had some interest expressed by them in doing the work. So on Tuesday, we should have a clearer picture of what our time frame is on that. Also, lastly, FEMA has approved the grant for this project contingent on the EHP compliance, so they'll release those funds only after that. Now, we've only received the clearance for the umbrella grant, the sub-grants, because we're just one part of the overall grant that Demas is administering to us. We haven't gotten the paperwork yet on that as a sub-grant. But we did get that. The good thing, of course, about having received the FEMA funds and being approved for it is now we're not at risk of lapsing on it. Those are set, so no matter how long the project takes, the money's there for us. So that concludes my report, and I'm happy to take any questions if the council has any.
Mike, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, how are you dealing with Newfield on this now? How are they?
So we've communicated with Newfield, and I had a call this morning with Jeff D'Onofrio, the attorney, about it. And essentially, they haven't deployed any equipment to the field. If we'd probably reached a point where they'd actually gotten there, started doing some work, and then they had equipment that they had to maintain in the field because of this delay, we probably would be in a bigger pickle. But because they haven't done that yet, and we do have some latitude at the front end of the contract, right now, we're just keeping them informed that this delay is being placed upon the town relative to federal requirements. And if there's any issues that arise from Newfield, we'll address them then, but hopefully we'll just be within the 30, 60-day time frame.
That'd be wonderful.
So Mike, if you're getting federal funds, they insist that you do these archaeological digs? You have to do that?
Only if they determine that there is potential archaeological sensitivity to the area, which is what they've done.
What triggers that?
So it's FEMA, and it's federal FEMA. It was at the Washington level. And really there's several criteria, and I mentioned in some of my communications to you that there was criteria that they used to evaluate that there's within 1 mile, there's a known archaeological site currently working. Now, they don't tell us what that is because, they don't want people showing up there with a metal detector and a shovel. So they're never going to tell us what it is, but they tell us that there's, within
Jimmy
1 mile,
Hoffa,
right?
we're sure of that.
Sure, it could be anything, right? So, but they also mentioned that one of the criteria was that below the first level of where land had been farmed and the sub-level had not been disturbed yet. If we were dealing with a piece of property that had already had a building on it, this wouldn't be applicable. But because it's undisturbed land, they think that there's a greater likelihood of pre-colonial settlement evidence underneath it if it was ever there. So, so that's why.
Mike, you want to weigh in that, we had asked them about if we didn't use federal money or state money, that we'd still be in there, potentially, because I know that.
You may have to-
That is correct.
Yeah, so it came up, just in discussions about this, okay, well, we want to know our left and right limitations on this, so what if we drop the money and we go and maybe, do another site, or we try to work there? We're still going to be on the hook because the feds are alerted to this, that there's a potential archaeological site. We'd still go through this anyway. And then, of course, if you drop the grants, that's going to drastically change the nature of the project, because you're not just losing the 1 million from FEMA, you're losing the, what, 3 to 4 million.
And
we're
you'd
getting
still have
from-
to do it with
from the
watershed,
state.
correct?
So, and you're still going to have to do the watershed permit from FEMA anyway.
Which is
So,
required.
correct. So,
No way around it.
yeah, I think at this point, I don't know that that's a viable option. I would say if we hit a phase 2, if they find something viable there, then maybe we discuss other options. But right now, I think we just have to wait that out.
And I don't think they've given us any definitive as what they will find and what makes that criteria.
Seems like it's very subjective. They don't give us a real, an idea of like what they find. I think it's going to rise higher than the threshold of a couple of arrowheads, because I think a lot of people find them in their backyards around here.
Yeah.
But it could be something, medium range that, we might not think is significant, but it turns out to them it is.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
just the gentleman who purchased the property next door,
Yeah.
Private
he's
property.
done a lot of work.
It's private property. It doesn't.
I understand that. It has that's not gonna do affect anything.
Not on this property. It's not on a municipal-owned piece of property. So the rules don't apply the same for private property. I actually asked the same question because there was dwellings on both the left and right
Right.
side, and they indicated to me that there's different rules for private property.
And they
Right.
also made mention, I think, Mayor, you might have been at that meeting, or maybe it was Michael and Lisa and I forget. They had known that there was some tree disturbance, and we said, well, there had been microbursts that come through there a couple of years ago, and they discounted it, and they said, well, okay, we're not gonna be worried about the disturbance on the property of the trees being removed, because it could be that sensitive to them. They wouldn't even allow us to put a fence post in the ground, they said. So, they've taken that off the table as far as last week, correct, Mike?
Right.
This is
Yeah.
looking a lot brighter than it was. It could have been
Yeah.
a lot worse.
It's a brighter outlook. I just want to clarify while we're on record, that's March, April, and May. The old, let's say regime, 2 people, we're not getting into names. We, as permanent project building committee members, and asked numerous times, is everything set with the grants? Is the paperwork in order? Is the paperwork in order? Is this getting done? Is this getting done? And unfortunately, in the last 30 days, the new purchasing agent, Mike Fumiati, Lisa, and Mike, for the last couple of days that he's been here, have done more in the last month than we got back then. In other words, this could have been all prevented. We still had to do it, but we could have been further along. Just want to let you know where the ball dropped. It's not dropped now, it was dropped back then.
And FEMA also said to us, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, on both meetings, Friday and Monday, that we're not the only ones going through this. We happen to be
Yes,
at
I
the
did
top
hear
of the
that.
list,
Right.
because we
We have eminent work
we have
taking place.
people in our pocket,
Contracts.
people to help us move this to the top of the food chain on the federal side, but there's 2 other towns that are going through this, and they got they're not at the level we are right now, so they're putting us first, and hopefully
This is good.
we'll continue that.
Also, the $4 million fund from the state, still there's no issues with that.
Yeah, there is.
It would be
Well-
subject to the same.
Yeah,
Same-
because that's, because SHPO is
State money
in
and-
State Historic Preservation
FEMA's
Office as well.
the federal, and then
There's no
SHPO
other
is the
paperwork that we
state.
need to do for the state.
It kind of correlates together.
No,
Correct.
as soon as we get this, this piece addressed,
The
we're
dominoes
done.
fall from
So
there.
we can't grab shovels and go start digging?
No.
Looking for artifacts?
No.
No.
We wanted to fence in the area potentially last week, and they said, don't do nothing. So,
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That
Thank
concludes
you
my
very
report.
much. I appreciate that. All right, well, thank you, everyone, for the input you provided during that. We're going to move on to item 8, community events and presentations. A, Light the Night for Fallen Firefighters, October 2nd through 9th, 2022.
Mr. Mayor,
Anthony?
in addition to the flyer that you have in your agenda packet, I happened to be down at Country Paint and Hardware last week and spoke to Earl, and he was going to order some red lights and put them on a special display and take $3 off each light.
That's great.
If anybody's interested. So you'll have regular light bulbs for over your door or floodlights if you want to put them on like that kind of arrangement. But
Oh, that's
he was
wonderful.
willing to participate and help out, so that was pretty nice.
That's great, thank you, and thank you, Earl, for that. Okay. All right, Anthony, thank you. On to agenda item 9, citizen statements and petitions and correspondence. Is there any citizen statements? Seeing none, we're going to move on to item 10, resignations and appointments. Item A, appointment of Mary Bigelow to the Greater New Haven Transit District Board of Directors for a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2026. I'll accept the motion.
I'd like to make a motion that in accordance with the Greater New Haven Transit District bylaws, Article 2, Section 2, that Mary Bigelow of 19 Countryside Circle, Northford, be and is hereby reappointed to the Greater New Haven Transit District Board of Directors for a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2026.
Second.
A motion by Councilor Angeloni, second by Councilor Diamond. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yep, good. What's your question?
What is it?
Okay, so I asked the same question. It's to do with, so we only have one person on this particular board, and that's why the term is a little bit longer. And it's to do with just that, bus transit.
So it's busing.
There's no trains, obviously, that are commuter trains in North Branford or Northford, other than that of Tilcon, which technically we could talk about that afterwards. There is a requirement for a caboose on that. But long story short, that's to deal with transit within this environment. At one point, we did have a stop at the intermediate school. I don't know, it's probably appropriate to ask Mary about that, but that's what it's to deal with. Okay.
All right. So she oversees the one stop that we have in.
Well, she would oversee she would be part of the conversation as to implementation of further stops, needs, the whole overall.
She's been on the board for many years.
Yeah.
on
I'm
that seat.
assuming that's what it is. I just didn't
Yeah.
understand what the role was.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll bring it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, that passes. Mary, thank you again for your service to town North Branford. All right, on to unfinished business discussion action items. Item A, update of replacement of Tower 1. I believe we're going to have a presentation from our fantastic fire department. Chief, our Assistant Chief, how are you? Mr. Trudeau, your show.
Good evening and thank you. I'm Mark Matrudo, one of the Deputy Chiefs of the Fire Department. I'm here this evening on behalf of the Board of Fire Commissioners and obviously appreciate this opportunity. And we're in a position right now where many of our firefighters are at a particular type of incident and training that's taking place right now. So we're in that point. So right now, we're in a position with the fire apparatus where we have our fire apparatus, the workhorses of our fleet, that have suffered a significant change in price over the summer. If you look at the numbers, Bureau of Labor Statistics and others are putting out 27% increase in just fuel and energy, things like that. We're finding that everything is going up, and I know that's no surprise compared to where you're at right now. So if you look at the second page, not the front page, but the second page, what you should have, there you go. It should have the average age of our apparatus, okay? Put one more. There we go. Okay, so average age of our apparatus. When we were together back in January, one of the things that we talked about was the fact that our fleet is 24 years old on average. when you look at it by station, we're in a position where the units coming out of Station 1, which is the station on Route 80, you're in a situation where you have basically three workhorse pieces of equipment out of there. You have Engine 1, which is a 1995, which puts it about 27 years old. The engine tanker is a 1997 with some 1970s drivetrain associated with it. And the tower ladder's 1989. It's 33 years old. So why would we want to replace the tower ladder? Well, a couple reasons for that. Right now, it is the vehicle that's gone down the most. We talked and we went through a whole bunch of numbers for you back in January. Right now, the ladder truck was down for 6 weeks during the summertime. Not only was it down, during that time period, we had a fire at our rooftop air conditioning unit at Evergreen Woods. We had to bring Branford in to help us deal with that. So we're dealing with some issues there along the way. We're lucky that you allowed us to maintain a spare engine. There's 3 companies, 4 engines. We maintain a spare. That spare makes life a whole lot easier when one vehicle goes down, especially given the age of the apparatus. So we're very much appreciative of that. So what did we do during that time period? We did a number of different things. We reviewed the justification with you back a number of months ago. We looked at replacements. We looked and we were unable to identify any demonstrator units. We were able to find a spec unit, which basically gives us like for like specification vehicle, which actually saves you from a couple of the price increases. Speaking of price increases, prices have gotten completely out of hand. And speaking with the manufacturers, this is continuing. Just under 25% in just 2022, and they're looking on a quarterly basis. The 2 main manufacturers that we look at are the 2 kind of premier from the standpoint of best quality, 4 to 6% per price increases, and they're going in on a quarterly basis. So it's kind of scary along those lines. There are more increases coming. We've gotten them from both of the manufacturers, so that's the position that they're in. Speaking of apparatus, we were able to take a look at and identify 2 primary manufacturers, a company by the name of Pearson, a company by the name of E1. Both of those, we were able to get, for all intents and purposes, a like for a like replacement for the ladder truck. And that's essentially where we are right now. We are in a position where we're looking at a $1.6 million vehicle that if we hold off on it, it will end up, if you wait 1 year, it's at $1.8 million. If you wait 2 years, it's at $1.9 million. The price of these vehicles continues to rise, and we're kind of struggling with it along the way. But we do want to at least let you know where we are, what we did. Ideally, we would want to be standing in front of you tonight asking you for authorization to move forward. Why would we want to do that? We're saving about $80,000 to $90,000 with the spec truck that is being held for us until September 30th. That's the reason we're here. I think you may remember from back in January, we said if we found something, we might have to move fairly quick. The manufacturer's been good to us. They've held it for us through the end of September. The question, I'll go ahead and ask it because it's probably on your mind right now. Can we get any more time out of them? We might be able to get a week or 2 more out of them if we talk nice to them. But there are 2 other departments right now that on October 1st, they're ready to write a check for a deposit for the rig. That's how crazy the market has gotten. I have Vice Chairman Joe Civitello's here and Interim Chief Esposito. Is there anything else you guys want to add? No? questions, I guess, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mace?
The one on hold, is that a demo or is that new?
That is not a demo, that's a spec truck. Basically, it's in the production schedule. We will get a brand-new vehicle.
Okay.
If you bought that, we would get a
In
brand-new
your
vehicle.
previous presentation, we talked about demos,
Which-
new ones.
right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
We were not, and as late as 5 days ago, we did another nationwide search, couldn't find a suitable demo. We even worked with, I know many of you know Ed Boughton.
Yes.
I went to him and talked to him a little bit about, give me some guidance here, what do you think? We also did a search for a relatively new used vehicle, as much as I don't think that's the right way to go. We couldn't find one of those. But that's the position that we're in right now. It's not where we expect it to be. And on top of all that, we are awaiting a rejection letter on the assistance to firefighters
Can you
grant.
go a little deeper into that as to why we perceive it will be rejection? And some of what when
Sure.
we went through, just so the public knows the efforts that we've made to try to make this
On
a
the
less
grant.
expense.
Yes. The Assistance for Firefighters Grant is about a 32-page application that we have to do. We basically have to tell them everything except for whether we have arrowheads to worry about. But beyond that, I mean, we have to go through a pretty extensive amount of information, and the narratives run somewhere in the area of 4 to 6 pages that go in with that as well. So we did all of that after the meeting where we presented to you. We filed our application on time, and then what happens next is FEMA does an electronic scoring of all of the applications. So they do their electronic scoring, and then the applications that score to a certain level, and they won't tell you what that level
They don't
is,
tell you the criteria?
go to a panel. And people like myself and maybe like Chief Esposito or Chief Colangelo, who's working tonight, sit on those panels for other states where you read an application, there are 5, you read the application, you make recommendations, should you or should you not.
Yeah.
Both Chief Esposito and I spoke with FEMA Region 1 representative, and we were told that our file had not been modified, which means it did not make it to the panel. What that probably means is one of the things they look at is how many pieces of rolling stock you have today. And they look at a whole bunch of other things. They also look at some of the, department budget sizes, town size, all of that. We did not make it to that point. Now, you say, okay, how did we put the application together? I pulled together a couple of different people from the last time we did an application, and we also spoke with people who had been successful in this process before. So we worked a number of different ways through that, and we were still unsuccessful. So I guess the last thing that I'll say in my elongated explanation is that I ran some numbers last week of how many significant fire apparatus grants came through the AFG in the last 3 years. There were 3 that were over $750,000. That's it, throughout the entire country. The average apparatus grant was $355,000 as of a week and a half ago. So what the panels are doing is they are funding, in my opinion, they are funding engines, small engines for small rural fire departments in big cities who don't have the money. That appears to be what's happening. Does that, I said a lot,
No,
but did that answer the question?
Absolutely suffice. We appreciate that.
Okay.
Because there was a notion that we were pretty bullish that we'd get a good look at this. So it's certainly disappointing because it's something that we need. And,
Yes.
I think we all agree that it's important to maintain our fire department, our apparatus.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Could you go through the apparatus that you have listed here for the stations?
Sure.
Is this just examples, or do we only have 3 pieces in Station 1?
No, I
Okay.
didn't want to muddy the waters by putting the 40-year-old brush trucks in there, which go out 6 or 8 times a year, which would drive those numbers way up. So those are just the engines, the tankers, and the ladder truck, I guess what I would call the workhorses of the firefighting fleet. We are very, in my opinion, we are very comfortable with rescue trucks. I think we do a really decent job with ambulances, and there's nothing to complain about there. The brush trucks honestly get used 6 times a year, so the fact that we have a 1972, a 1979, and a 1984 really doesn't matter all that much, because they go in the woods and get beat up putting out brush fires.
When you say used, what does that mean?
Responding.
So how often is the tower truck responding?
Tower truck, we have cut back the responses significantly because of its dependability. It's running, I don't have the exact number, but my estimate for the grant was it should have gone out over 150 times last year. And I think the numbers we had, we were 134 structures within the community that were 3 stories, commercial, 2 to 3 stories or greater, that you definitely would have needed it. You would need it. One thing I also should say about this rig is that it is what's called a quint, which means it has a pump, a small tank, and a hose on it. The original Tower 1 and what we put together for a new one can serve as a pumper truck in front of a building. They just wouldn't have the big tank in it. So instead of carrying 1,000 gallons, they carry 300, 275 kind
So
of
if you
thing.
took the tower truck, I'm just curious.
Go ahead.
If you took the tower truck out of the equation here, what would the average years of service be for Company 1?
It would be,
27-year-old, you have a 27-year-old engine in engine 1, engine tanker 11. You have, it was built in 97, but the motor, transmission, and fire pump were taken out of a 1976 engine upon retirement. So it's a 46-year-old engine, pump, and fire, and transmission in that truck.
so to take what John said and just kind of put a little more icing on it, engine 1 is 27 years old, the engine tanker is 25 years old, but the drive line is from 1976.
Okay. What station has the most calls?
55% of the fire calls come out of Station 1.
So as I look at this, why would that not, why would the most focus not be on that firehouse for equipment? And I look at years of service here.
That's where they're looking at.
That's
No,
the focus
no, I'm
we're
looking at-
using now.
Okay.
Does that
Okay.
answer your
No,
question?
Yeah, it's fine. No,
Yeah.
I'm just asking the question because,
Yep.
you know, I'm looking,
Yeah, I can't speak
Seems
for what was
logical.
done in the past,
Okay.
but that's our focus now. And that's part of the reason we put that schedule together, to see exactly what it was, because that was the gut feel. And then when I put the numbers on the paper, it was like,
okay.
Mark, can you, everybody, you know, you talk about an aerial, and everybody thinks about tall buildings and stuff like that. Can you just quickly summarize the other uses that would be more common to our community that truck is
Sure.
used for?
sure. Part of what we talked about in January was, we use the tower ladder as our rolling toolbox. Not to go too deep into fire department stuff, but basically when a building is on fire or there's a fire call in a structure, the front of the building is owned by the ladder truck coming in. That's why it's so critical to get this thing in early. First of all, so that you can get the sweep if you've got to get up to a higher level, but it carries extra equipment that we tend to need. So, for example, if you drove by 286 Branford Road, the old Dr. Firestein's, on Monday night, you would have seen the tower ladder up for the last 4 weeks, because we got a chance to kind of do some work there. And 3/4 of the tools taken off of it. So it's got everything from the hand tools, the axes, the power saws, all of those kinds of things. It serves it can serve as an engine. It's got hose lines that you can pull off it. It carries our firefighter rescue equipment. If a firefighter goes down, we have something called it's called a RIT team, Rapid Intervention Team. The firefighters that go in, the equipment that's carried on there, it's carried for that. Thermal imagers, generator, power supplies, fans. John, Jake.
Fans, tarps, everything you need to
Tarps.
search and rescue.
Roof
anything
saws,
you do,
everything.
anything you need to do.
Hooks, everything.
Anything that's used in the fire service is off of the ladder truck.
And over 100 feet of ground ladders.
Everything comes off a ladder truck.
So what'd we do when we didn't have that ladder truck?
We go all the way back to when you and I were kids.
Yeah.
Stuff was crammed into other trucks.
We think back to what North Branford was back then. We did not have Evergreen Woods, we did not have Totoka Woods, we did not have the condos, North Farms. Those were the original reasons why Chief Thomas went forward for the ladder truck. Before that, the longest ladder we had was 35 feet, which meant we could get to the roof of a 2.5-story house. But if you look at some of the really big 2.5 stories, or what I would refer to as a 3-story, I don't know, I'm sure what you call them in the real estate world, we can't ladder those, okay? So we were not able to get there, and frankly, we had more fire trucks back then. One of the things we tried to do, at least in the 80s and into the 90s, was to reduce the number of vehicles. So for example, today we have engine tankers. We used to have separate extra engine and extra tanker. We combine those, but you lose storage in the process.
Could I ask,
Sure.
you said that you had to recently call Branford for help. How often have you had to call another town because you couldn't, because the tower truck wasn't operating or whatever?
When we have a structure fire alarm, report of smoke or fire in a building, if our ladder truck is not in service, typically an outside will get called. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I know we have basic numbers from mutual aid, but I don't have the exact numbers in. If I had a guess, it would probably be about a half a dozen times a year.
Yeah, probably.
About a half, it's not every day.
Deputy
But-
Chief, would you also explain about positioning of apparatus when, in timing of a call? So when the
Yes.
mutual aid comes in, as you were saying before, typically your ladder is going to be your front of home or front of building
Right.
apparatus. And if you have apparatus in town that's going to get there first, you're not going to wait for the mutual aid, you're going to get there. Generally speaking, it's hard not to convolute the area and have the right positioning for that ladder.
And that's a good point, because even if we leave the building, front of the building open, once we drop that big 5-inch supply line, you can't drive over it. So you can't even bring a unit in. I did make a phone call to Guilford, because I knew I could get information pretty quick yesterday. I called them and asked them, how many times a year does your ladder truck go out? So their ladder truck runs on average between 350 and 395 times a year. Because I expected somebody to ask me, well, why can't we always just call them? And what we're finding is that some of these types of incidents come in bunches. Hurricanes, natural, weather, those kinds of things. So there is that. We're the fire department. We'll make do with whatever we have to. but there is a significant concern that this rig is going to have a catastrophic failure at some point. Could be years from now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Chief, so you said, roughly Tower 1 responds to 150 calls a year estimate. What would you say Engine 1 responds to a year?
I'm going to put that number at about 2.25.
Okay.
Yes.
So if that goes out more, is used more, and that seems that it's also pretty much getting up there in years and it's
Yes.
gonna have to be replaced, what makes Tower 1 the priority over replacing, say, Engine 1 instead?
Sure. There's two things that come to mind quickly. Okay. We have two out of our three tankers are out of town tonight, so if something came in, you'd have a mass exodus from the back. So two things come to mind. One, we currently, and thank you for the council for doing it, we currently have a spare engine. It's the old Engine 3. When an engine or an engine tanker goes out of service, the spare engine is pretty well stocked. So it's fairly easy to move it in. It's not effortless, but it's fairly easy. It's a lot easier than it used to be. So that's one thing. So we have 4 engines right now, okay? The second thing is, I have a fairly strong finance background. And the thing that stuck in my mind was we had a 25, let's round it to 25% increase in these rigs this past year. And the manufacturers are telling us, plan on quarterly increases, minimum of 10% per year. And lease costs are sitting at 4.2 to 4.7%. So the cost of the rig is going up much faster than what it would take to financing it. Those are two of probably the bigger reasons for that. And the fact that it could serve in a small way as an engine when it's in front of the building. Yep.
Sir, could I ask you?
Sure.
Sir, Station 3, the average age is 4 years old, and it's used 17% of the time. Not that this has anything to do with the ladder truck.
Right.
But why wouldn't we switch Engine 3 with Station 1's Engine 1 and switch Tanker 3 to the tanker in Station 1 and put the newer vehicles on the station that uses the stuff the most?
I'll give you the emotional answer and then the other answer that goes with it. Because the guys that are sitting behind me would shoot me. That's the first thing. But you could move the engine for the engine, forgetting the emotional side of it. You could move the engine for the engine.
What do you mean the emotional side?
Who designed that truck?
4 of us.
Okay. Sometimes we may not maintain complete sight of the fact that we are stewards of those apparatus. We don't own them. Okay? There is an emotional attachment to them. Could we move that rig down? Yes, we could. I'm personally, others may have a different opinion, I'm personally not of the opinion that Engine 1's in bad enough shape that it needs to come off the line immediately or be, cycled back. The tanker one it was a much easier one. The tanker is set up just as that. The pump that's on it, it doesn't carry extra hose. It can't serve what those 2 engine tankers out of Station 1 and Station 2 do. So it does not have the equipment and the capability to be swapped out into Station 1. Okay? I can go into a lot more detail on that, but I'm guessing you don't want it. But please ask questions if you.
No, I'm just looking at here, if we have all the new stuff in the station that's not used, I look at it as, why not have the new stuff that's being used and let the older stuff sit in the quiet station?
Let me add one more thing to that. When there is a significant incident in town, all those engines roll, okay? So just because it's not in District 3 doesn't mean that Engine 3 is not going, Okay, so I want to be sure I don't give you the impression that unless it's in their district, they're not going. Would you say 3/4 of the time engine 3 goes out for a building alarm, it's going to another district?
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally speaking, the only apparatus that roll kind of in their own jurisdiction are going to be rescues and
That's-
brushes.
That's pretty correct.
So it's used more than 17% of the time, is that what you're saying?
No, that's all in, it's 17%. I use 2021 numbers to get to that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have any question? I'm gonna tap into your financial background.
Okay.
In your presentation, your request, you want the town council to authorize the purchase of this spec truck with an extended lease purchase plan. How does the?
What does that mean, Mark?
Yeah, if you can
Okay.
explain with your financial
So-
background, I'd have a better understanding.
When we got the quotes from the leasing company, my understanding was that there was a very strong desire on the part of the council not to have to make any payments on a new tower ladder for at least 2 to 3 fiscal years. So, and my understanding was to kind of hold the line on taxes. So when I talked to the leasing companies, I asked them, what can you do? You know, can we do a later payment? Can we do interest only? What are some of our options? So the two things you see there are what they came back with. First, they went to, instead of paying at the beginning of the year, they basically went to payments in arrears. The second thing was they did a graduated payment scale where it's still payment in arrears, which gets us a year, then it's 200, 200, and then 3 really big payments after that. The idea there is we have $350,000 that has been budgeted and is available right now. The tower truck, when we sell, it's worth about $20,000, okay? You look at that and the fact that it's costing us at least $25,000 a year to maintain it, you're sitting where you have approximately a couple $100,000 and a couple $100,000 right then there. So you have the option there. The idea would be a question of whether you decide you want to be in a position. Let me start over. How far did we get with the finance? Bottom line, if we look at it, we're looking at payments that are pushed out a couple of years, and the other side of that is if you decided you wanted to bond, and let's say bond an engine or in an engine tanker and take the residual out of those big payments, you're in a position where you could do that. So basically, all we did was we made sure that you could pay off without any type of history to go with
What's
that.
the length of the lease?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
What's the length of the lease?
5.
It's
5
a
years.
5, that's it? They don't give you any more?
We could get something different, but I didn't want to start to get a little too crazy.
Do these leases come due often? And generally speaking, when the lease comes due, does the department then purchase, or do these come online as for sale?
They're dollar buyout lease purchases. So at the end of the lease, it's a dollar buyout, and it's the same way we've been doing it all along, just I'm not sure.
Just the financing mechanism, it's not a lease in the sense like you do for your car.
Gotcha.
So it's financing.
Okay, understand.
So they're doing it as like a capital
Extenuating the
expenditure.
pay.
Yeah.
It's not at fair market value, it's a dollar buyout.
It's
You're
a
done.
dollar- it's a dollar
Problem is,
buyout.
it's only they're only doing it as a 5-year lease.
It's a financing, exactly.
I understand that.
Yeah, no, I got it.
So on the old equipment, you're planning on selling it?
Sell, typically what we will do.
And there's people out there that would buy it?
Believe it or not, there are. Not worth a huge amount of money, but there are people who buy them.
Regarding the grant,
Mhm.
obviously, we've been rejected, sad to say. What's to reprocess? can you reprocess? Or when can you reprocess?
You would have to start over again next year and apply again.
So did you apply for $1 million? What did you apply for?
January,
What was the amount?
$1 million.
So if you go and apply for a grant that's not $1 million,
Mhm.
let's say it's $450,000, what are the chances of that? What's our odds?
My opinion, the fact that we already have 4 engines,
We're
when
still
they,
gonna get the same.
I don't think we're gonna pass electronically.
Sir, we budgeted the $350,000 based on if we were getting the $1 million grant. Because that's what we were told when I think we had come before us, that there was this opportunity to get the $1 million grant. And I think we talked about that $350,000 was, okay, so we can get this engine for $350,000 if we get the grant, if I remember correctly. So that's how it was proposed to us, and that's what we.
$1.6 million was what
Yeah,
it
we were,
would cost.
right.
To get $250,000 done. And if we didn't get the grant, that would be the first payment.
That was my
It was
understanding.
based on if we got the grant.
No. That's what they told me. If we didn't get the grant, $350,000 was for the first year payment.
We were gonna get this part covered.
And then for 5 years.
When we talked about this during the budget season, and that's when the grant came up, and we talked about it, but we needed, in order to get it into the budget, we needed to commit some money. But it was with the understanding that if we didn't get the grant, it didn't automatically trigger that you would automatically get the tower truck. That was the discussion that we had, just so everyone knew that it wasn't an automatic on there, but we had to commit money in order to move forward if you got the grant.
But also, you also discussed about the 350 that were given to us, that you guys discussed and granted at that time. It was with the understanding that we may not get the grant, and that would be the first payment in front of future payments. That was discussed as well.
Yeah, that was a comment made, but it wasn't an agreement or a full discussion. That was a comment I believe Anthony made. And also, the price of the truck that we were originally talking about was about 1.3, rough numbers, and we were putting in the 350, not we, the town was putting in the 350, and hopefully we got the grant, it was $1 million. So now, of course, everything's escalated in prices, and, we're just trying to weigh everything out. It's not an easy decision,
I think it's important that, we maintain vehicles. Town in general has put themselves in a position that we haven't maintained things regularly. So we're going into a period of time where we're changing things over, high schools, police stations, apparatus, communication systems, and it's bottlenecked. We're doing it all at once. So there has to be a step forward to be able to maintain things, but also have financial integrity, that we're not, we don't want these things to all come up 25 years from now, or whatever it is, in the same cycle, and have to do it again like this. There has to be some type of plan to do that, and that's essentially what we discussed. It's very important to have these vehicles maintained and have them available to our citizens and to our fire department.
So Anthony, what are our current leases in the fire department, and when are they up?
I believe we're in the final year currently of the engine 3 lease. And we're in year 3 of 4, I believe, on the ambulance lease.
You mean in the current budget year 22, 23?
23, correct.
So that's already budgeted.
Correct.
So for 23, 24, we only have one lease payment for the last lease payment on the ambulance?
Also, you said something about engine 3.
Engine 3's last one is this budget
This
season,
one?
correct. It took several years for it to be built, so we're paying.
The last one, the Sue's Daniels was on 2-year lease.
And we'll probably start paying for it before.
One in, one out.
Because that's what happened. Engine.
That's the rule we have in here. It's like my kindergarten class.
But we need to pay for it.
Pass with you.
Yes, that's correct. This 22-23 is payment number 4 of the engine 3 lease, $173,500. It's payment number 3 for the ambulance. Next year will be payment number 4, $70,091. So that's the only commitment you have going in the door next year, is the $70,000 so far.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we only have 70,000 going into next year, can you, for our next meeting, work up what the lease, because I see, here it's 2 years of no payment and then 3 or 4 heavy years on Tower 1. So if we only have 70,000 for 23, 24, and we have 350 there, plus you also got another 150, so we have 500,000 sitting there, and we have 70,000 to pay for 23, 24. So if that was divided over the payment schedule, instead of having years of no payments, what would that look like?
We can get that information for sure, right?
I know, that's why I'm just.
But we can definitely get that information.
Just so that we have a better idea of what this looks like.
And still go with a 5-year lease, which is what we would do on a major, as opposed to 4 years on just an engine. Because an engine's about an $800,000, little north of that, so.
Right.
Okay.
At like last year's prices. So if you could just get that information to us, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely.
I just have a question.
Well, it's only this.
According to your notes here, you wanted something done in September. And you had talked before about if we miss the September 30th deadline, what
No,
happens?
it's less than that.
Let's just say
Dealing
about
with
that.
the company with the fire
Let's
truck.
say we have
Can you get an extension to?
Okay.
I can make,
So,
we can make a phone call
taking
tomorrow
that, keeping
and
this.
beg for a couple of more weeks.
Okay.
The manufacturer has
Those
been
are
pretty
gonna
darn
be-
good to us.
My understanding there's
And
only one
It
spot.
becomes.
if I was a betting man, I would bet we could probably get another 2 weeks out of them.
It's a research.
If we,
Revenue.
you know, if,
This is not.
unless it's,
But it's just
you know, an absolutely not kind of thing.
Okay. Is our next meeting October 4th? When's
Yes.
that?
Yes, it is. And
Okay.
there's some things to consider. I mean, again, I think the board, and you can stop me if, I think, speak for us, that there's certainly a will to find a way to make this work. We have to juggle the clams, right? We have to shove them around or the cups or whatever you want to call it, right? And figure out where it comes from and how it comes from, because we're in a period of time where we're budgeting a lot on a lot of different things that need to be updated. And we've heard, again, not discounting this, but we've heard a lot of, this is a need. We need this now. We need a communication system. We need to make sure we can hear our people inside buildings, 100%. So we had to get that need done. We need a high school. We need a police station. So we do have these needs, but we also have the needs of making it financially viable for our citizens, for our constituency to live in this town. So I would ask that we have a little time to, discuss this amongst our group. Anthony, is there something you'd like to share?
I just have one comment. Ron made an excellent point before as to what types of calls are pertinent to our community. When Larry Auger lost his barn, that tower truck pumped for hours, thousands of gallons of water coming up high onto hay. when Mike and Sue Duhamel lost their barn. Thousands of gallons of water coming from an aerial operation. So you look around Northford, North Branford, we have several of those that would present themselves as possibilities of, you know, that type of use. So it was an excellent question.
One more question, Chief. Bear with me knowing very little about firefighting, because I'm a police officer, not a firefighter. So I see you have prices here for a Pierce and an E1.
Yes.
Are there other companies that make these?
Part of what we did, let me kind of give you a little bit of a long answer, but try not to make it too long. What we did after the January meeting is we met with the officers out of Station 1 and the chiefs, and we put together a list of 80 items that would be related to what we need for the new vehicle. From that, 40 of those were considered priority. From there, we went out and started looking at apparatus. We eliminated some from consideration because back in March, they were over $2 million. So that was an easy. We eliminated some because of things like, based on their wheelbase, tail swing, they're known for getting in accidents, kind of thing. Some of them based on quality, frankly. And in some of them, we looked at and we said, this really isn't for us. There's not enough that can be done. So in the end, it came down to Emergency 1, which is the predominant thing we have in the fleet, and Pierce, which is a step above that, which is a great rig. And that's what we ended up with. Okay, so we eliminated everything that didn't make sense. Did we eliminate a rig that was $1.1 million? No. They're all about the
Yeah, that's
same
what I
price.
figured.
Some
They'd
of
all
them
be
are gonna
around the
be
same price.
100 to 200 more. I can't believe I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars this week. Some of them are gonna be maybe 100.
Gotcha, but they're all in the same ballpark.
We did look at taking the pump, the tank, and the hose off this one. It would have saved us somewhere between 70 and 80,000, but when we looked at it operationally, because of our operating model, it didn't seem to make sense.
Yeah, you're not gonna,
Nick,
that point's not make a difference.
Deputy Chief Amatrudo has done an enormous amount of work with this, and I thank him for it. Him and a bunch of his officers went out to they flew out to two different shows where they were actually able to speak to reps and see firsthand what the rigs looked like. You know, we've had conversations back and forth. I could go into some details, but we don't need to right now on different rigs. I think that, you know, he's definitely leaning towards the E1, which is the closest thing to what we have now, and we'll have the least amount of learning curve with the crews that we have now serving on it. But he's done an enormous amount of work, and I don't think he's left any stone unturned at this point.
Well, and I had a lot of help, too. So
No, of
there are a
course.
number of people in this room that were a huge help in this process.
And I would just like everybody to keep in mind when we're talking about this stuff, it's easy to discount the need for something when we're so focused on dollars, which we all are. But also keep in mind if it's your house and that apparatus is not in service and able to service your house, you know, how important is it to you then? So, you know, he's done a great job and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, don't apologize.
My daughter had an emergency. So, question.
Yes, sir.
If we do this for the tower and the engine, are you coming back next year for the engine? Are you coming back in 2 years for the engine? 3 years for the engine?
I'm going to turn around and look Chief Esposito straight in the eye and say, what's your, and Vice Chairman
I mean, obviously, if
Civitello.
it dies, that's a different story, but.
So you're gonna be probably in the next 2 or 3 years looking at a engine one, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Couple of years out.
I mean, I don't know if it was asked, so I apologize. So.
That's a fair question.
That's a real good question.
30 years old.
I don't know if I've got it in me to come back next year.
One last question.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm playing
No,
catch up. I'm playing
as
catch
long
up here
as you
being
guys
new to
are
the
okay,
council.
I don't mind.
In your
engines can be
estimate,
sourced.
in your estimation, I understand you're saying 25,000 a year, you know, to fix it, bearing catastrophic things, which, like any vehicle, you never know. How much, if you don't get this tower, how much life do you think is left in this until it gets to the point where it's not safe for my firefighters to use this anymore?
It's getting harder and harder to find
We don't
parts to
know.
fix it.
That I think is, and that's the reason I hesitated. Part of the reason why it goes down for weeks at a time is you can't source parts for it. Finding a turbocharger used in a, I won't call it a junkyard, but whatever the correct term is for those nowadays is a big deal. Our concern is a catastrophic failure.
Put it this way, Chief, last time they had to do brakes on the truck, they had to find second-hand used brake drawings.
And changing
Can't
wheels,
find them
right?
For that truck.
Yeah.
That's how bad it's getting.
Is that a Detroit diesel?
Yeah.
Yeah, the motor.
So, okay, so the parts are easy to find for a Detroit diesel, I don't see that. But you're saying because it's a
Motor's
19...
not the,
I know.
motor's not the only part of the truck.
I understand that, but you're
Yeah.
saying because it's a 1976...
No, this one's an 89.
1989.
Sorry.
89.
This one's
1989.
Yeah.
You're having problems finding drums?
You have to remember, a fire truck is built by that manufacturer. They're hand-built. So if E1 now decides that they aren't gonna make secondary parts for a 1989 truck anymore, you're not gonna find them on the shelf, because they're only available from E1.
best side.
And Ed Bowell will explain it all to you.
No, you don't have, no.
Well, that's what happens, they're custom made. They
That is
make
it.
their own parts, in many occasions, they fabricate the parts.
So who's this, the new truck is from where? Not from E1 also?
It is
They're
from E1.
all apparatus, all fire apparatus is the same, they're built by hand specifically on an assembly line. It's not
And-
Ford or Chevy putting parts together.
Nowadays, they're using
They're not mass produced.
parts that are common across heavy truck lines. So with a newer truck, if you had a problem with a rear differential, you pull the information, all right, it's a Hendrickson, it's a Model Vist, fine. You can find that, or you can source it through a
Because it's a
Hendrickson.
1989, it's pretty much because they didn't do that.
Yeah. So, and the electronics are a problem. One board, they thought there was a problem with it. They said, if there is a problem, your truck is out of service, and we have no idea if it'll ever come back. Thank God that wasn't the problem. We've had problems with hydraulic lines, and that kind of thing.
So, last question and I'll stop.
Okay.
One more.
I hope we're not
While you were
going too
out
far
on
afield
call,
on this.
When you took this out on a call, did
Yeah.
it break down on you? While you were on a call,
It has.
driving to the call?
We've lost all the electronics in
We
the
lost
truck.
all the electronics on call, lights, sirens, horns, everything, lost all electronics. When we were operating at a call, it failed.
Yeah.
So it's, whether you're driving it there or operating at a call, any failure is a safety issue for firefighters on it, safety issue for firefighters driving it, operating it. It's a safety issue for the citizens we're responding to save their lives or their house.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Palladino, I just want to bring up, you had Brent, a good point, the $25,000 for maintenance on it. But I think if you go into the mindset of that $25,000 a year maintenance or fixing or repair or whatever on that, it's going to cost you a whole lot more than that, because you're putting off the purchase of the new vehicle, and that cost is going up way more than that $25,000. So it's going to cost you more than the $25,000 in the long run, if I'm making sense
no.
telling you that.
No, thank you for that.
And you didn't do bad for a police officer. That's all good question. I hope we haven't taken this too far.
I just have one question.
Sure.
So is there equipment on Tower 1 that can be used, that we would save in the department? That
Boy,
could
am
be
I glad
used?
you asked that, because I forgot to talk about that part. So, things like those on-spot chains that drop down, so you can drive through the snow. the thing that carries the Knox box. And physically, 95% of the equipment would all get moved over. So this is not buying a rig and all the equipment that goes with it. This is buying pretty much a bare truck and moving everything over that we can. And we eliminated a couple of things like a generator and an air system that we decided we really don't need. But thank you, because I completely forgot to ask that question, to answer and talk about that. So there would be a few new things that we would probably have to buy, but hose, nozzles, all of that stuff would get moved over.
Thank you.
And just one last thing, Chief. Sure. I had to step out for a work emergency, I apologize. The other thing too is we're using $800,000 as a worst case scenario. It's my understanding from talking to you guys that you're a more realistic, forget it. I just got
Yeah, you were thinking.
I got it mixed up.
You were thinking 2 years ahead.
Yeah. There was something else I wanted to ask about the tower, I forgot. Yeah, I stepped up, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. All right, are there any other questions for Deputy Chief?
Thank you again. I apologize for taking so much of your time.
It's an important issue.
We're talking a lot of money, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
No, it's.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the others from our commission and our fire department that are here tonight.
So,
we appreciate
so
this.
good luck on the phone call to see if we have until October 4th.
We'll,
Okay.
as they say, we'll put the squeeze on them.
Okay. I have complete faith in you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. We're moving on to new business. Discussion and action. Item A, assessment deferral program, Rosa Bianca Vineyards located 1536 Middletown Avenue, Northford.
I thought we did.
We did do this.
I thought we
This was the
approved this.
sewer, right?
Is this?
Is this something, it was in the new business part? No.
Did something.
Was it the sewer connection?
I think
that
it
we
was
did?
the
We
connect.
did the hookup.
The hook,
It was the sewer.
this is for, oh, guys,
Right, this, no,
Can't
I
hear
know,
you.
but I thought Rosa Bianca came before us. Was it the sewer?
I thought that was a tax deferral, wasn't it?
It must have been.
That was the
Yeah.
hookup. It was the hookup.
Hookup,
Only given
okay.
one thing.
All right, Dave, come on up. Sure. You're looking good tonight, Dave.
Yeah, it's very sharp tonight.
Dapper.
Thank you.
Man after my own heart here, huh?
I can fit my fattest suit now.
Well, that's always for
I
me.
think he's trying to,
He's trying
the new
match
town
the town
manager,
manager.
the dress and everything, and,
I approve.
yeah, okay.
That's not it. This deferral is for 1536 Middleton Avenue. This is for a new 5,000 square foot concrete structure that will be used for wine production. The property currently consists of a Cape Cod home constructed in 1832, a small commercial building, and a garage. The estimated percentage assessment increase is 146%. If approved, this will be our 10th deferral in the pipeline. I'll give you a quick recap. For the record, we have 4 properties currently receiving the deferral exemption. 2 of the 4 are in their last year. 3 deferrals will be online starting with the 10/1/2022 grant list. Another one will most likely begin effective for the 10/1/2023 grant list. Yet another one will most likely begin either with the 23 or the 24 grant list. So this will be the 10th, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
And this is a great addition to our town, to our ag tourism environment. And Charlie's putting together a really beautiful, building there in his vineyard. So I'm all for this.
Yeah, it will be a pretty building.
Yeah, a very pretty building.
What's the reason for the deferral program?
It's to provide incentive for developers to build here in North Branford. Any increase in assessed value is deferred forward over a 5-year period.
So that while you're building it, you can put money towards it versus.
Their first year, there's no increase in assessed value or taxes. Years 2 through 5, there's a 20% increase each year.
So this is it to encourage business?
And it has.
It's an economic
Okay,
development,
that's-
He can't
That's why I'm
reapply.
asking.
which is huge.
It took off the last year.
Okay.
I'd like
So
to
this
make a
is-
motion to approve the property assessment deferral program for Rosa Bianca at 1536 Middletown Avenue.
Second?
All right, motion by Counselor Angeloni, second by Counselor Diamond. Any discussion?
One question.
Go ahead, Mr. Ramos.
This is a one-time, or does he get a bite at the apple again?
It's a one-time application.
So
And
he
if
can't come back and do it again?
He has to either expand or build a new structure.
I mean, he has to increase the property value
Right.
again
Okay.
by
Just-
over 35%.
further economic
New
development.
construction
I'm
or
with-
expansion.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Just it's a
All right.
one-time, no problem.
Any other discussion?
Sign up tomorrow for
Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, guys, I appreciate it.
Okay, on to item B, award bid number 12A, 2022-2023 NBHS Technology to TPX.
These are the phones, yes?
I believe.
I'd like to make a motion to approve bid number 12A, 2022-23 NBHS Technology purchase and installation of the telephone system to TPX for $32,248.24, and the ongoing monthly fee is $3,007.10.
Second?
Tom, you're slipping tonight. Second by Counselor, motion by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Diamond. Thank you, Counselor Diamond. Any discussion?
What's the length of the term? Is it 3 years? 4 years? 5
For what?
years? The $3,000 a month.
Well, it's just, I guess as
Doesn't
long as
say
they have it.
anything?
Yeah.
Right. It's through that, it's the high school,
I understand.
Project.
Okay.
but I think the ongoing monthly fee is just a point of order, I mean, just a reference point for us. We're just awarding the base bid
Okay.
Yeah.
out of there.
Comes out of their
So if it
budget.
goes up, it's on him in his budget?
Yeah, that will come
Okay.
out of the
Their
board.
operating
but
budget.
That's
Okay.
their operating budget.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? That passes. Thank you. Okay, item C, administrative charges for town-related extra duty assignments.
Okay, so this was discussed at Finance Committee last week. It was actually brought up at the August Finance Committee meeting also. So the Police Extra Duty Fund is a separate fund. It's not part of the police department budget. And it's exactly that. When police are hired for extra duty work, whether it's in-town functions or it could be, road projects, UI, whatever, outside vendors, external vendors, hiring them. The money, all the money that is paid goes into this extra fund. And from that fund, the police officers get paid from the money that's billed and collected. The police officers are paid from there, and there are extra charges that are put on there to cover pension costs, workman's comp, and social security on there. And so this fund has built up over the years. Right now, there's approximately $200,000 in there, Anthony?
Correct.
That's correct.
Correct. We did check with the attorney to make sure that this money could be used at the council's discretion for other things, because there is a pension component in there. And we can, because the police officers are made whole. They get their wages and they get their pension benefits. And that's all that has to come out of this fund on there. So this money is to be used at the council's discretion. So there's been talk, and what prompted this was the Potato and Corn Festival and the amount of police officers that we need for the festival. In past years, we have had to go outside of the town. If we don't cover all of the officers, we go to surrounding towns to get officers to come in, and we pay them also. Our administrative fee, because of our pension structure, is very expensive in the town of North Branford. And with new regulations that have come into place, it is at the sole discretion of the chief of police as to what events need police officers. So that could be, you know, besides the Poco Fest, sporting events for the school system, the parade, any type of event that he feels that it's warranted, that's what dictates that you need an officer or multiple officers. So with the new regulations that have gone into place, we also need more officers because of how many officers need to be there. You now need to have a supervisor because of the amount of people there. The hourly rate has gone up. And this year was the first year that all shifts were covered by North Branford police officers. We did not have to go out of town. So the question becomes that it's a very costly bill. Our administrative fee is 72%. So if you pay $10,000 for police officers, it's an additional $7,200 that is tacked onto your bill. So Finance Committee talked about town events and how we could help out town events. And we came up with a list of 6 items, which are part of the annual events here, that if this motion passes, it would cover. So the 6 events are the Memorial Day Parade, the middle school graduation, the high school graduation, the Potato Fest, and the Halloween event sponsored by the Rec Department, and the tree lighting sponsored by the Rec Department, where the organization that would order the police officers would still continue to pay for the police officers. It's the administrative portion of the bill that would come before the town council to get approval to take the money to pay it out of the special fund, the $200,000 that is sitting there. So we talked about it in finance. I met with Deputy Chief Lovelace and went over it. These are the 6 events that we came up with. We are also looking at the possibility of bringing forth some school events, whether it's sporting events. I did reach out to the athletic director at the high school, and basically the biggest events that they need police officers for are hockey games and football games, and they need at least 2 to 3 at those events. And so we will come back at another meeting as far as applying this same principle to the schools. And then there are the schools, each school probably has one major event during the year where they have to order, and it's usually a fundraising event where they have to order a police officer because of the volume of people there, of extending that also, so that the school system gets the benefit of this also. But we just we're gathering some more information in regards to that, but we wanted to start off with these 6 town events. So I would like to make a motion that the North Branford Town Council instructs the Treasurer Finance Director to invoice the respective department for the wage portion of police services for the 6 aforementioned events, and to potentially utilize the police extra duty fund to cover the corresponding administrative charges for said invoices. Prior to charging the administrative charges to the police extra duty fund, the Treasurer Finance Director is directed to bring any proposed changes to the Town Council for their approval. This action should include a current trial balance of the police extra duty fund.
Second.
So the reason that, we put that last part in there is that we get the trial balance first, is so that we are not committed. So if the funds start to dissipate, we have the option of not, because we would kind of know ahead of time, once you get a year's experience as to how much that would cost us, we could kind of tell. And we'll also have other income coming in there with the external vendors. So, you know, but it gives the council the ability to assess it ahead of time and to look at it and say, you know, unfortunately, due to the amount in there, we cannot fund this. Or maybe one year we can only fund 3 of them, and then the next year we fund the 3 that we don't, you know, we can kind of
Correct.
come up with a,
Yeah, we could be judicious as to what. we can
yeah, which
afford.
ones, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Diamond. Any discussion?
I have a question.
I'm gonna give Deputy Mayor real quick.
Okay.
He hit me first. Deputy Mayor? And then
Anthony,
we'll go.
were you able to come up with what an average cost would be for an event that we're discussing here?
I have not pulled the bills off
74%.
since we've had that meeting. Terry was on vacation and had COVID last week.
Okay.
So I have not pulled bills. I did get the information as far as the delta every year.
Yeah.
It runs to about a $30,000 positive year over year in this current state. So it
Okay.
has a profit, if you want to call it that.
Counselor Mace?
Yeah, I just, and I apologize for not attending the meeting the other night. I had something to do. But out of the 6 items, I understand Memorial Day Parade, it's a town event. NBIS, school event. NBHS, school event. Halloween, town event. Tree lighting, event. They're non-revenue producing events. The Potato Festival is a revenue producing event. Why should we use the police fund money to pay the police for that when the Potato Festival?
No, we're only using the police extra duty
Offset.
to offset the administrative charges, not their wages.
Okay. And my question was, why are we using a revenue producing event for something like this here when we should be looking for another town event that
It-
takes care of our residents?
It's
our
a
schools?
derivative of that same thing.
I
So
can't hear you.
It's a derivative of Parks and Recreation. So yes, the Potato Fest, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the Potato Fest is its own entity per se, but it is a derivative of a town, event. Whereas, as is the Halloween event or the tree lighting, those are derivatives of those town events. It does create revenue for itself, but it's not a revenue that's being utilized for the gains of a board or of ownership per se.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
Rose, when was the last time the Potato and Corn Festival made a profit?
Ron, I can't hear you. Ron.
I'm sorry, I just asked her when was the last time the Potato and Corn Festival made a profit?
Well, the profits have been, if there was a profit, the profits have been very low. I mean, we didn't have the Potato and Corn Festival for 2 years. Prior to that, you're probably looking at less than $5,000 made on the Potato and Corn Festival prior to that for a number of years, for a few years on that. We did make some revisions this year. We don't have our final numbers yet, because one thing we're waiting for is the police bill, because will be a major bill for us. If we did not have the extra duty fund on there, or, if this does not go through, we're probably looking at a $40,000 to $45,000 bill for the police department.
It's a large.
It's
piece.
a major expense, and a lot of it has to do with the administrative fee on there. And it is a town event, and yes, it does produce revenue on there. But that revenue is also is put back into the town.
Correct.
And they've made improvements at the Augur Park, and they also give back, they've given scholarships out to students with funds that they've made from that, so they do give back to the community also.
I'll just question it because the Potato Fest is the one event that there are probably more outsiders from surrounding towns and everything else than citizens from Guilford, Branford, North Haven, Durham that would come to our Memorial Day Parade or come to our North Branford Intermediate School promotion or graduation. I was just looking at the Potato Fest is their revenue, a lot of their revenue is derived from a lot of people from surrounding towns as well, not just the people from North Branford and Northford.
And just the 2019 was the last year, obviously, that we ran it. The bottom line profit was $4,542.79.
A real barn burner. Okay, good to know.
Thank you.
And that ends up getting reinvested into the
It
next.
stays into
Stays
the
in, yeah.
separate fund, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, much like the other areas, it's being reinvested into the event itself, part of the town. All right, that's suffice, okay. Mr. Abelson?
My question, we've paid this in past years, yes?
We have.
And the average payout is the administrative fee?
Well, the administrative fee keeps going up each
Well,
year.
obviously, yes, because.
And then it also depends on how much how much we pay another town for police officers. Their administrative fees are less than ours on there. And their fees per hour could be higher than
Right.
ours
Right.
on there. So it's hard to judge. This is the first year that we didn't have to go outside of North Branford on there.
I mean, we have $200,000, and is it gonna suck the $200,000 out of the account, or?
No.
No, most likely not.
No, so it's also a function of exactly on the town events,
Right.
exactly what the pension cost, it'll be an actual pension cost rather than an estimated
Okay.
on there, so that will make a difference
It's just
also.
like when, because next year, okay, all the things are done. Oh, by the way, it's $175,000. I just,
Yeah, no,
I just, you know what I mean?
yeah, it should not.
I mean, we have it there, but it's just,
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the events that you're talking about, besides the Potato Fest, probably are in the 4-hour range anyway, because when you hire an officer, you have to pay him for 4 hours, even
Right.
if the event is 2 hours. So it's a minimum of 4 hours on there. So most of those events are probably within, you're talking a 4-hour or maybe 8-hour
Okay.
at the most. The Potato Fest obviously is the most because you have a lot of shifts to cover.
4 days.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments or discussion? Seeing none, ready to vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? All right, that passes, thank you. On to item D, appropriation transfer 2021 and 2022.
Yeah, you have what should be the
We
final
need to
wrap.
update that, I'm sorry, I apologize, but it's,
Yeah.
they're wrong.
Yeah, 2201.
Yeah,
and
just make note to
2202.
that on when we do the meeting
I'll take the
minutes.
200 years
Sorry about
ahead.
that.
Yeah.
That's okay. I had to look at it a couple times.
So this is, hopefully we'll wrap up the 21-22 year, a couple pages of budget transfers, a couple larger ones on the second page. There was an audit that was agreed to back in May that was not accounted for, so we're transferring money to cover that. And there was the animal control bill from Branford, came in a little bit higher than we had budgeted, and you have that attached, I believe, that was in your packet as well, to back up for that number. There's some sewer works operating budget transfers as well, as the engineer mentioned earlier. The intermunicipal to North Haven went up significantly, about a $10,000, almost $11,000 overage what the budget was. So we had some savings in other accounts that were able to move that money over to cover that for the sewer department. And again, this will put the 21-22 year to bed. We will get it to our auditors after the changes are made by Anita, and they will begin their work on auditing the 21-22 books.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appropriation transfers as recommended by the town manager and the treasurer finance director.
Second.
I knew you were gonna do
Wow,
it.
he woke up. There we
I knew
are.
he was gonna
All right,
do
so we
it.
have a motion by Counselor Angelina. Please note, it's second by Deputy Mayor Zampano.
I knew it, I could see it.
It was there, it was there. It's because we don't have the candy here, that's why.
I think so, we should.
All in favor?
That's why.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. All right. It's exciting. All right, item E, financial report, 8/31/22.
Financial report, very early in the year, so nothing noteworthy as of yet. And I just noticed, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I did not clarify that Public Works breakdown for you, but I will fix those for the next report. The top line, property taxes, 54.3% compared to 53.3, so that's good news. Overall revenue shows a little bit under budget compared to last year, but again, it's so early in the year, nothing to get crazy about. Bottom of the house, the expenditure side, 19.2% this year, just about average with last year, 19.6, a little bit better. There was one department that's showing over expended, Health and Human Relations. It's a function of, to go back to that Public Works comment I made earlier, one of the things that we had to do as part and parcel of changing the computer system was comply with the state Uniform Chart of Accounts. So things that we had accounted for 100 years, that's why are now going to be accounted for differently. So some of the groupings you might see are different than they've historically been. One example of that is Public Works. In the eyes of the state, they want Public Works broken down to a grounds expenses versus a snow plowing expense versus an admin expense versus a maintenance expense, where we historically have had it as one number, Public Works. So you're going to see a little more detail on that, and I'll label those a little better next time for you. Again, the report remains, it's unremarkable at this point. Again, it's so early in the year, there's nothing to get crazy about yet. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Okay, thank you. All right. On to item F, approval of tax refunds.
So moved. Oh, we'll let Marie take that one.
That was good. I mean, that was very much in tandem.
It threw me off.
It was. That was exterior. Very good. All right, so we're going to go with, I'm going to give that to Counselor Diamond as the motion, and we're going to second that with Counselor Angeloni. Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Not as well in unison, but that was good too. All right, item 13, citizen statements and petitions. No citizen statements? Okay, we're moving on to, we'll accept a motion to exit into executive session. Item A, pending legislation, 1-206B. Oh, yes, you're right. So including town manager, town attorney, town, Anthony, you're in? Town finance?
I'm sure
Oh.
this is about, yes, yeah, I'm in.
Okay, Anthony as well. Town finance. Yeah. All right, and we thank everyone for being here tonight.
We going right in, or we have a 5-minute?
We're gonna take a 2-minute bio, or a 5-minute bio break. Mark? Okay.
Good share, by the way, just for the record.
That's not good for.
Where do we find out about?
Good for anything.
We gotta get you a better collections. Can we talk